Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Osoyoos Committee of the Whole meeting, February the 25th, 2025 at 9 a.m. in Council Chambers. So could we have a motion, please, to approve the agenda? And I assume there are no late items. Thank you. Councillor Chong, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And we have some minutes of Committee of the Whole meeting on February the 11th, 2025. Could we have a motion to adopt those, please? Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. So first off, we have a staff report today, and it's on curbside pickup carts, and we have municipal operations consultant, Mitch Morosiak, who is here to give us a presentation. So welcome. Thank you very much. Yes, till the light comes on. There.
There we go. Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't been in a room like this for about 4 or 5 years, but I sit in exactly the same spot I sat in the city of Penticton. So anyway, yeah, I'm here to give you a bit of an update on solid waste collection. I've been doing some work for you guys on that, and we'll get right into it. So my background is municipal management, specifically operations. I've been involved with utilities, water, sewer, storm, electrical, engineering, parks, facilities, solid waste, cemetery, and also some planning work. I've worked at 3 different municipalities, most recently with the city of Penticton, and I've also done some private sector work. So that's my background. Rod got hold of me and asked if I could help the town of Osoyoos out with 2 specific items. One is solid waste, and the second is sanitary sewage. So I've been working away on both of those items for you. So topics for today. I wanted to provide an update to you on some proposed changes to solid waste collection. I'm going to talk a little bit about the CART program. I'm going to talk about your existing collection contract, your new collection contract, the future, some of the things that might be coming your way, pros and cons of the changes that are being proposed, and then a little bit of a discussion on financial impacts. So with respect to carts, so Osoyoos is not necessarily a stranger to carts because you guys went to automatic cart collection of recyclable materials in 2020. And garbage and yard waste collection currently remains semi-automated using bags and resident supplied containers. In March of 2024, the town of Osoyoos Council passed a resolution to commit funds in the 2025 budget, as well as budgets going beyond 2025 for the cart collection of garbage and yard waste, which you currently don't do. So the 2025 solid waste budget includes $350,000 for the purchase of carts for garbage and yard waste. As well, 2026 and beyond, the budget includes an allowance of $45,000 for ongoing cart operations. And this is material that council has seen back in March of 2024, so it's not new. November of 2024, the regional district awarded a request for proposals for the purchase of carts for recycled garbage and yard waste. And that program is to go into effect starting July 1st, 2025. Osoyoos was not part of that process, and Osoyoos is preparing to issue its own RFP for the purchase of garbage and yard waste carts, and recycle carts, as you know, are already here. So that RFP is patterned after the process the RDOS used, and we are trying to keep it consistent with what they have done. And the reason for doing that is I believe that what you'll see happening in the future is you'll be moving to a regional collection contract, probably at the expiry of not one that's going to expire in 2026, but the one that expires 6 years after that. So I wanted to create some consistency when I put the RFP together, so that's why it's patterned after RDOS's work. So for Osoyoos, citizens will be provided with a standard cart package of 120-liter garbage cart and a 240-liter yard waste cart. Citizens would be allowed to complete what's called a changeout form if that's not something that's going to work for their household, and they could upsize their garbage cart to 240 liters so they'd have more room. They could also obtain a second yard waste cart of 240 liters. Or if that was too big for them, they could also make a choice to downsize and get a 120-liter yard waste cart as well. Also, some people have some concerns about animals getting into their garbage. So there is an option for a 120-liter animal-resistant cart. It's basically a cart that's lockable so the top doesn't open. So that option will also be made available to residents. Citizens won't be able to opt out of cart collection. It's sort of the whole community does it or nobody does it. And unfortunately, that really isn't even an option because under the new collection contract, that was only bid as automatic cart collection only. There is no longer an option for semi-automated collection. And I think the industry has moved that way for a number of reasons. One, it's a lot easier on their workers. It saves them and the customer money in terms of workmen's compensation claims. It's easier to keep track of contamination in the waste stream because you can automate that process. And it's more efficient and quicker. So the collection frequency won't change. It'll still be garbage will be collected on a weekly basis. Recycle will be bi-weekly, and yard waste is also bi-weekly, but there's some seasonality to that because you don't collect that over the wintertime. You won't be able to put food scraps in your yard waste cart. You really need a regional composting facility put in place before you can do that. That is being looked at and worked on, and that will be coming, I'm sure, in the future. But you'll have to wait a little bit for food scraps. So some of the items that need to be done, you have to make an amendment to your waste regulation bylaw to bring in some new fees because the residents will get a standard cart package and that will be covered under the cost of the collection that they are currently paying. But if you want to change from that, if you want a bigger cart, you're going to have to pay more for that. So that's $5 per resident per month. If you want a wildlife resistant cart, you're going to have to pay more for that. That's $4 per resident per month. And then if you want the additional waste cart, you'll also have to pay for that. That will be $5 a month. And those rates are exactly what the regional district is charging. So there's consistency across the region for what those rates are. We also have what's called a cart changeout rate. So let's say you decide, you want a 120-liter garbage cart, but then you start generating more waste for whatever reason, and that's not working for you anymore. So you can come to the city and you can say, I want to change my cart out. Well, to do that, you have to roll a truck. You've got to pick up a cart. You've got to drop off a cart. So there's a $45 fee for doing that. So those amendments will have to be done to your waste regulation bylaw. So those fees will be put in place. The other thing you need to do is you need to do some education to your residents so they kind of know what's coming down the pipe. So we put together a letter that would go out to all the residents that would explain the CART program, explain what their choices are, explain what some of the cost increases are going to be. There also would be attached to that letter a CART changeout form. So if they didn't want the standard package, they can fill out the form and say, I want something different. Here's what it is. If they are happy with the standard package, they don't have to do anything. They can just file the material. And then also there are frequently asked questions that have been put together, and those will be posted online as well as referenced in the letter, so residents can go to that if they have some more, want some more information. There will be a deadline set in the letter to receive the CART changeout forms, and the reason we need to do that is we really need to know exactly how many of what kind of cart we're going to buy. So we need to have a deadline for that. We'll finalize the numbers, finalize the request for proposals, issue it, evaluate it, and award it. And you should be in a position, should council want to move forward in 2025, to move to cart collection for garbage and yard waste late summer or early fall. Now, I have checked with Waste Connections Canada, who are your current service providers, and they're willing to pick up carts for yard waste and garbage under the current terms of the existing contract for the same price that you're currently paying. So there'd be no cost increase to start this earlier, and they're positioned to be able to start that process as of May 1st of 2025. Your existing waste collection contract. So the existing contract you have is with Waste Connections Canada. That contract runs from July 1st, 2018 to July 1st of 2026. That contract was amended in 2020, and that amendment did two things. First, it provided for the supply and pickup of recycle carts, and it also extended the contract by 1 year. Originally, it would have been expired in 2025. Waste Connections Canada has been contacted, as I indicated, and they'll honor the existing pricing structure. So to provide increased convenience to residents, one thing that is being proposed is you might want to add another unlimited waste collection process in December, because sometimes people are still dealing with yard waste after your last collection date, and then they got to do something with those bags. So that is something you might want to offer your customer, so they could do that. The other thing that I would like to point out is that at any time during the year, when you have a cart, you fill your cart with yard waste, but let's say you decide to take down 2 trees or a couple of shrubs, you can always put it in a craft bag and put that out at the curb, but you have to put a tag a bag sticker on it. And if you do that, that will still be collected. So that option exists for the odd time that you're doing some extra yard work. In terms of your new collection contract, Penticton undertook an RFP process that closed November of 2023 to select a waste collection contractor for the regional district areas, Summerland, Penticton, Oliver, and Osoyoos. That RFP review was completed and a successful proponent was determined for all participants, and that respondent was Waste Connections Canada, your current service provider. The town of Osoyoos has issued a notice of intent, and that contract needs to be negotiated and finalized. Contract start date will be July 1st of 2026 for a 6-year duration, and the other contracts have a 7-year duration, but they're also starting in 2025. So now all waste collection contracts will end at the same time right through the regional district. In terms of the future, there will be a discussion to move to a regional waste collection process. I've talked to people at the regional district, and they've indicated that that's something they intend to work on during the course of the next contract. So when it's getting close to its end, they'll know if they're going to move forward with that. I'm also sure there'll be some discussion about regional waste disposal system. Instead of individual communities running their own landfills, there could be a move to a regional process for that. The establishment of a compost facility that's capable of dealing with mixed food and yard waste is something that is underway. And I'm sure that will be constructed and put in place in the near future. And once that happens, you will have to make changes again to your curbside pickup, because now you've added a different waste stream. So there'll be some flipping around of what you collect and when you collect it, but that's something for the future. Some of the pros and cons of the proposed changes. So moving to cart, citizens, they won't have to purchase garbage bags anymore. They can just put it in the cart. They'll have to purchase less yard waste bags, because they still, you need the yard waste bags in spring cleanup and fall cleanup. It'll be increased convenience if you put in place that additional yard waste pickup. Also, storage of waste is improved. That putting waste in a cart is a lot easier to store it, and it's also a lot easier to move it around. It's got wheels, you just wheel it down to the curb. It'll be cleaner. There's less spilled waste from a cart system as compared to a bag system. It's more efficient from a collection process, and less injury to collection staff. It's also easier to monitor compliance, because the trucks are equipped with a camera. So when the cart gets lifted and tilted, the camera is looking at what material is coming out. And depending on the technology you choose to employ, some of it is AI driven, and it will identify if you put things in that recycle bin that aren't supposed to be there. And then you can do certain things with that. You can automatically keep track of the address. You can generate a letter to the resident educating them about what he can and can't put in his waste stream. And you'll also be better aligned with Okanagan municipalities and the regional district on a go-forward basis if you want to move to regional waste collection. So there's also some cons with change. One is you've got the initial cost of the carts. You now have to buy carts. There'll be some damage to the carts. There'll also be some theft of carts, so those will have to be replaced. So that will be a cost that the municipality will have to deal with. And there is potential for contamination of the waste stream. I've indicated cameras can deal with some of that, but that potential still exists. In terms of financial impacts, there's really going to be 2 financial impacts that will be coming forward. The first is something that's going to affect all residential curbside collection customers. And the second one is only going to affect those that want something different than the standard cart package. So in terms of financial assumptions, the costs that I'll be talking about and showing you here are only collection costs. There are other costs associated with solid waste, and that is the disposal costs, and there are also costs associated with recycling. So those aren't included in the numbers that I'll be showing you. And I had to pick a year to compare, so I said, let's just pick 2025. So I'm going to provide you information on, let's look at what you'd be paying under your current contract, current process, against what you'd be paying using the new contract with the proposed changes. So it's 2025 to 2025. So you'll get an idea. These are estimates. They're not exact. In 2026, the numbers will be different again, mainly due to the fact that the new contract, like your existing contract, has inflationary increases built into it. So in terms of the all residents changes, you'll have increased cost and waste collection costs that flow out of the new contract. You'll have the addition of that one unlimited yard waste pickup if that's something council wants to move forward with. You also have recovery of cart depreciation costs. So now you're going to have a whole bunch of recycle carts and garbage carts and yard waste carts. They have a lifespan of around 15 years. You're going to have to replace them. So you need to put away some money in your budget and put it in a reserve account. So when that happens, you're sitting there ready to be able to buy them. And then also you're going to have to recover some money for carts that are damaged and stolen because those will have to be replaced. So looking at it in 2025, existing contract, existing service, it's about 159.27 per serviced unit per year. And we see that moving to about 188.68 per serviced unit per year. And that's collection only. You can see the changes in collection costs at the top. And then you can see the addition of cart depreciation and damaged cart replacement costs as well. There'll also be some of those cart changes associated with, or cost changes associated with those residents that don't want the standard cart package, and that will be $60 a year if you want a bigger garbage cart or a second yard waste cart, and $48 a year if you want the 120-liter animal resistant cart. And that's all I have for you, so I'd be happy to answer any question.
Thank you very much. That's very comprehensive, and I sit on the regional district board, so I have sort of heard this before. Can I ask, I understand that if somebody steals your cart, there is a chip in it, and can they then understand that that belongs to that address and not this one? Is that a possibility to fix that, or are you out? I thought I heard that.
No, all the chips are the carts that I've written into the proposal all contain chips, and they all have a number, a unique identifier number in the chip, and they also have a serial number on it. So if that card is found at a later date, that RFID card can be, or tag can be scanned, and then you'll know exactly, okay, this cart came from this address and it can be returned to that location. So yes, that is possible.
Thanks very much. Councillor King, yeah.
Thank you,
Hand
Madam
up.
Mayor. Two questions. One, I can pay for the cart. Do I have to accept the cart? Say I got a small yard and I don't really have room. I'm willing to pay the extra. Do I have to accept the cart?
And like, are you saying, do I have to accept a yard waste card if you don't want one? That is an option. That is, you'll see that in the frequently asked questions piece. If you choose that you don't want yard waste, you can not have that, yes.
The question is for the yard waste. You said possibly a couple times a year you could put out extra bags, but you got to put a tag on them. So what's the cost of those tags? That'll be an extra cost, like $1, whatever we charge now.
Yeah, it's whatever your tag a bag cost is now, and I don't have that number right now, but I can certainly endeavor to find it and get it to you.
Either $1, $2, I've used. So there would be an extra cost.
Yeah, if you wanted to stick that bag out, yeah. I mean, that's something that, for instance, I do myself on a regular basis. Sometimes the middle of the year, I'm doing something and I got some extra bags. I just throw the tags on them and throw them out and they disappear.
Can I just ask, I think that when we come to food waste, and the green, can it be the yard waste carts that can be used that if you have yard waste every 2 weeks, green waste could be picked up in the same cart the other 2 weeks? Is that a possibility or do we know that yet?
Yeah, yard waste and green waste would be combined in one cart.
Hmm.
And that would end up being, from what I know in my discussion with the regional district, that is the cart that would get picked up weekly now. And then your garbage cart, which now there's a lot less in it, that would then alternate with your recycle on a bi-weekly basis. So that's the change that you would make.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So I'll use my household as an example. We're completely xeriscape, so I have zero yard waste. So in my situation, could I fill out the opt-out form to not have the yard waste cart for now until we do transition into the green like the green food collection? And then if that's the case, do I still get charged for the yard waste?
So again, I patterned off what I put together under the same as what the regional district has done, and you could opt out, but there would be no reduction in cost for you to opt out.
Go ahead.
Worship, thank you. Just another question. On the current existing recycling bins, is our intention to keep those for the time being until their end of service life?
Could you repeat that, please?
Sorry, for our current recycling bins, is our intention to keep those in service until the end of their service life?
The intention would be to keep them in service to the end of their service life, yes.
And I believe that some people have bought carts for that. Would Waste Connections Canada come and check that that cart was appropriate for pickup? And then they would, is that one of the options?
So that's something I've covered into the frequently asked questions section, and that cart would have to be inspected by a Soyuz staff. They would have to look at it, and really they would be looking for a couple of things. Is one, is there an RFID card tag in it? Is there a serial number on it? Is it color coded? Because the lids of the carts are color coded, so the collector knows what he's picking up. So if the cart was appropriate and it was privately owned, yes, it could be used, but there's a process that they would have to go through.
Thank you. That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure that was in your frequently asked questions. Does anyone else have another question? Mr. Risling, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Would just so really appreciate the work that has been done by Mitch. I think he's put in a lot of hours to get us to this point. I don't think we would have made it without his help. So we're really appreciative of his assistance. Just because it has been brought up in the past as far as yard waste and shutting down around the end of November. We didn't debate that during the budget process, but if council wishes us to change the pickup for 2025, that's still something we could consider, but there would be required amendments to it, or considering it for 2026. So wouldn't mind just hearing some feedback from council on that. And then just, again, a shout out to the public, knowing that, within the next little while here, they're going to be receiving that letter in the mail, which includes all the information. So again, I just want to emphasize that because there's a lot of information going out from the town currently with their water meters. And so it's just kind of a bit of a reminder to people that they'll be getting another letter and to pay attention to it. But again, if they're happy with the standard package, there's nothing that needs to be done. But we will be advertising this within the community.
And will we be giving them a deadline?
Yes.
In the town? And I know the regional district, because it starts on July the 1st, there is definitely a deadline there as to whether, and I think it's already passed. I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Is
the
that-
RDOS
yeah, I filled it in, but
Yeah, the RDOS was a bit ahead of us.
yes, a year, yeah,
Because we had that extra year in our contract.
yeah.
But
So there will be a date on the forms that are
Absolutely.
sent out saying, please fill us in at this point. And can I ask, Cameron Baum was the one who had been at the regional district for many, many years and has taken on sort of dealing with that for the regional district. And he came down here, which I attended because my house is south of town boundaries and in Area A. So I did listen to him and he explained it all to Area A residents a couple of months ago. So do you work with him or is it totally separate or?
Your worship, I have spoken with Cameron a number of times as I put this information together because he was the go-to guy from the regional district's point of view with this program. So yes, him and I have spoken.
Thanks. I just think working together, that which is why it's important, I think, for the whole regional district to eventually be on the same page. It will make it much easier to deal with. So, anything else? Did you have, no?
Clear.
Go ahead.
Your worship. Were we gonna discuss the additional yard waste?
We would appreciate, we have to bring back some bylaw changes, and right now we're kind of status quo. As far as ending our yard waste collections in end of November, but if there is a request to actually make a change to expanding an additional service in 2025, we can prepare the bylaw as such when we're making the other changes. So again, you can always do it later, and you've got an opportunity to make changes once the bylaw comes forward, but it'd be appreciated if we'd get a bit of a pulse.
Zach has
Because we
the,
do have to do
has the
contracts with
calendar
waste
here.
companies.
When is the last yard waste pickup scheduled for 2025 in town?
So that schedule's not available yet, but last
Oh.
year, I know 2023, we were early. I believe it was the end of
Yeah.
October or first week of
Beginning,
November.
Yes,
2024, though, it was November the 26th.
yeah.
Because our issue this year was the leaves hadn't fallen and yard waste was already over, but I'd support extending that even possibly into early December if possible.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, that this year it was really, the last pickup was at the end of November, and that was unusual. It was almost a month later than it had been in other years. So if that's something that I'm okay with, whatever is decided, is there anybody else thinks that we should be including an extra one at the end of the year? No? Doesn't matter to you. He doesn't have any yard waste. And neither does Jim, so I'm not sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it would be very helpful to have one final pickup like later in the year. Because just from visually, you see a whole bunch of bags that sit out and then they get wet and then it's just they fall apart and then it just becomes a whole mess.
Yeah.
So I think it's as we do continue to transition to xeriscaping in that meantime, I still think it would be quite convenient.
Okay. So you're making that motion that we go, and Zach, are you seconding that? Okay, thank you very much. Then let's take a vote on that, see what we think, because it makes sense if it's more sensible, so I'm okay with that. All in favor? Thank you very much. Is there anything else that we need today? Then,
I think that gives us
Rod
enough
or Mitch?
direction, and we'll start working on the RFPs, or Mitch will. And we'll bring back some bylaw changes for waste, incorporating some of the discussion today. And
the other thing is that we might have the option of starting the collection earlier rather than July 2026, right? And
so
do
that
we-
is correct. So that is the plan right now. We're gonna be sending out an RFP for the garbage bins, depending on how those responses come in. And we're also worried about cost escalation, so
Yes.
it's good to probably get in there now.
Yeah.
And we don't really want to have 5,000 carts sitting in our yard for a long time, so if it all works out, as Mitch has indicated, Waste Connections has indicated that they can start as early as May, and there's no cost change to our ratepayers. So it's probably a win-win-win. So that's how we're gonna march.
Good.
And as soon as we get them, depending on staff availability or contractor availability, we'll start, we'll do communications, obviously, but we'll move to the new system as
Okay.
soon as we can, depending on the costs of the and when we receive the bins. So it's
Thank you. No, that makes sense. What my concern is, and I'm hoping it's in the frequently asked questions, people like me, I have 3 garbage cans, you know, the old fashioned ones, and I have them that I use for my yard waste and so on. I won't be able to use those anymore. And my concern is how many thousands of old garbage cans are going to be sitting around, and is there any way that we can deal with those? Has that come up before? Do you have that in your question?
Well, I have two comments. So with respect to that, I would have to ask Waste Connections Canada, but I don't think there would be an issue with putting a tag-a-bag sticker on an existing container because they have to get out of their truck to pick up the craft bag anyway. To be honest, that's what I do. I have extra carts and I just put the tag-a-bag sticker on that for my yard waste and it disappears and it's the same collector. So I'd have to verify that with them, but I don't think, or I don't feel that would be a problem. And then the other thing with carts, I think the sooner you get the RFP out, the better and get the information back, because I think my guess is you're probably gonna end up with the same service provider that's providing them to the regional district, because they're gonna go, we're already coming here in July. We could just deal with all of this at once. So I think they would be very eager to do that for you, so.
Thank you. And I have a blue bin that I put out for my, my recycle. And so that I wouldn't be able to use either. So there's an added thing sitting around that we have to somehow get rid of, and you hate to have them all sitting at the landfill. Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor King.
I just wanted clarity, if these carts are put out in May, June, will they actually start picking them up then?
Yeah, that would be the intent, is that as soon as the carts were delivered to the residents, because under the contract, it's the responsibility of the person that supplies the cart to actually get it out to the actual residents that it's going to go to. And then after that, then they would be collected. But you'd have to wait until you got an exact date, and then you're gonna have to tell your public that, okay, here's the date that you can start using the cart.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, we really appreciate all the work that you've done and your knowledge of this issue. And we look forward to moving ahead with this because I think it's really important that we all be sort of on the same page and with the regional district and the other municipalities. I just want to point out that the regional district in this case, does not include the Similkameen because Kermias and Princeton, they have their own garbage landfill over there, and I believe that that issue is totally separate from the Okanagan Regional District. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so if there's nothing left on the agenda this morning, 1, 2, pick 2 of them. All in favor, terminated. Thank you. Thank you very